Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Micah, and today, as part of August Palette Extravaganza, I'm going to be talking to you about my 10 least used eyeshadow palettes. Just because they're least used doesn't mean that these aren't necessarily any good. Some of these I actually quite enjoy, but they are my least used because mainly because of color stories that don't really work for my complexion, or because it only fits like a very specific bill within my collection as well. So that's why I thought I could share with you my 10 least used eyeshadow palettes. They're not least favorite, because if they weren't like any good, or if I didn't enjoy them in any shape or form, most of these would have been decluttered by now. These are definitely not all on the chopping block or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, I do really think that there is a function for these palettes. They just don't really suit my regular makeup needs, you could say. So here we go. Shall we start with what's on my face? I just used this palette and did 3 different looks with this eyeshadow palette, trying to make sure to incorporate every single shade that is in the palette between the 3 looks that I was doing. And this is the Too Faced Chocolate Bar, which is an OG favorite for so many people, and it was actually one of the last chocolate bars I personally purchased, because this is quite dark. And if you're very fair like me, what happens with dark shades, especially, let me see if I can hold this so I can show you, like shades like this just kind of translate as that, dark. Like on my skin tone, if I put this, and this together in a look, while they look very distinct on the pan, if I put them on my face, they will all just blend and muddy together because I'm so fair. So that's why this palette I only have a couple of uses for. I definitely bought it mainly to complete the set. It has a couple of shades that I enjoy. Like I really like these ones over here, and then this Cherry Cordial shade. Those I really enjoy. The rest of the palette, nah. But it has a go-to neutral look that I do enjoy doing with this, but it's not something I reach for a whole lot, especially because it's a bit of a one-trick pony for me. Speaking of one-trick ponies, another very OG popular palette here on YouTube is the Modern Renaissance by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is a little bit too warm-toned for my complexion, so where I feel the chocolate bar is too dark, it has too many deep shades that just muddy together on me. This is just too warm-toned. So I have a neutral to cool undertone, so I feel that that's what looks best on me. So a very warm-toned palette like this can actually make me look a little bit sickly, or it just doesn't really work, especially if it has like a yellowy, orangey undertone like this. It doesn't really suit my skin tone. What I do really enjoy doing with this, my eyes are brown, but with a very slight hint of green that only shows up in like certain lighting and when I'm wearing certain makeup. So something I do enjoy doing with this is like going with these reds and berries, because that makes my eyes look a little bit lighter and a little bit more green, which is really strange. One of my go-to looks in the fall time is to sort of do like a gradient smoky eye with red ochre, Venetian red, and love letter to blend it out. A little bit of antique bronze or cypress umber to darken it up a little bit. Vermeer in the inner corner, and that's it. All the other shades that are in here, I kind of tend to ignore. Let's talk about another cult favorite. Lorac Pro. Not a lot of people talk about the Pro palettes anymore by Lorac, but these were once all the rage on YouTube, especially this one. This garnet shade was one that everybody and their mother was raving about. And for me, that also has a little bit of a dip actually in it. I'm not sure if you can see that. If I go into this palette, that is the shade I go for. It's a really nice, like, warm coppery brown that I do really enjoy. If it has a little bit of that red undertone, like I said, it brings the green out a little bit more in my eyes, so I do like that. I really enjoy mauve as well, but a lot of these, again, these 4 shades, if I use these, it all just looks the same on me. The darkest I go with this is Sable. So for me, this is what I can use. These four are just not my cup of tea. It has a couple of good standard shades, which is why I keep it around. And it does have something a little bit more unique with some of these shimmers here. So I feel it suits a need, but again, it's a little bit of a one-trick pony for me. Speaking of one-trick ponies, if there's one palette in my collection that I really feel I should use more and that I almost decluttered when I did a declutter earlier this year, but that a lot of people were saying, please don't get rid of it, so I ended up pulling it out of my declutter pile. The Viseart Sultry Muse. Now this palette is the reason why I don't own any more Viseart palettes. It's a brand I definitely keep on eyeing up, but I know how much I use this, which is hardly ever. I've had this for a few years now, and I think I've used it 5 times. Like, in terms of least used eyeshadow palettes, I think this may very well be my least used, like, all the way at the bottom palette. The reason why I do sort of see merit in it and why I decided to pull it is this rose gold shade. You can also see that out of the entire palette has seen the most use, this and that sort of like orangey copper shade. Those I enjoy the most, but since this is an all shimmer palette, and it's not as if one is more shimmery than the next, no. They all have a very sort of samey feel to them, so I do feel that this can work on its own, but it's not something that I will use on the daily, because I don't usually go in with all shimmers anymore for creating a look. So that's why this is a bit of a weird one. But that rose gold shade, I'm going to swatch it for you. These feel very creamy, very buttery. I have no issues with the blendability of these or with the qualities of these shadows. For that price point, you shouldn't. But look at that shade. Like, that is one of my favorite rose golds. And that is why I did want to pull this palette out, because I would pull out this palette just for that one shade. So where the other palettes definitely could still like create at least one look, this palette is only here because of that one shade. That's terrible. So when it comes to that Viseart palette, I definitely didn't think it was worth the price point, which is another reason why I don't go for it a lot. Another palette of which I think the price you pay for it and the quality or the shadows you get in it don't really line up is the Violet Voss hashtag palette. I wanted to try Violet Voss for such a long time because so many people were raving about it, saying it was a really good quality and they were always going for their palette, the ride or die or whatever. But I felt that it was very neutral and it was all things that I already had a million times over in my collection. I definitely eyed up that taupe palette they did for a minute. But then they released the hashtag. This was definitely a palette that at that time I really, really wanted to get, because you get 5 purples and then these warm tones. This was around the same time that the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk was released, and I was really enjoying that. So I really felt that this was a color story by Violet Voss that was a bit more unique to my collection, but that I would also enjoy a lot. The reason why this is one of my least used palettes though, is because I just think you pay a lot of money for what you get. I was lucky to get this on a sale on Beauty Bay. But when it comes to the quality, I feel it's very comparable to Morphe, and Morphe is half the price of a Violet Voss palette. So I just think it's overpriced, and it just doesn't make me want to go for this a lot. I didn't just want to throw in expensive palettes in here. There are definitely also a couple of drugstore brands that I should use more. I should definitely use my Sleek palettes more. I should definitely use my Makeup Revolution palettes more. But I felt that a brand I had to feature in here was Catrice. Catrice eyeshadow is very hit or miss, which is why I don't reach for their palettes a whole lot. This is probably one of the best ones that they do. This is their Modern Matte eyeshadow palette. I don't really reach for all matte a lot, just like I don't really reach for all shimmer palettes. But this is a really nice palette if you just want to go for something super basic every day. The thing is that I currently don't really do very basic everyday looks. I'm really into color. I'm really into like blues and greens and purples and pinks and all those kind of things. So this is just a little bit too neutral for me. But I do feel I should use my Catrice palettes a lot more, because I do feel that they can do a good job. They just need a little bit more work for them to work well, and I don't want to make the effort, etc., etc. So either at some point in time I should just declutter this, because I never reach for this, or I should start using it. Another more affordable palette that I wanted to feature in here is the NYX Ultimate Brights palette. Now this is definitely a palette that I bought because I wanted to get into using colorful eyeshadow. And I think that this is a great starting point. With a white base or just a base in general, these can be very poppin'. I do have to say that I now have a lot more like rainbow bright palettes that have far better quality than this does, that don't need that white base to pop. So that's why this is sort of shoved in the back of a drawer. It's pretty, it's nice. I was able to pull some stunning looks out of this. I have 3 more palettes for you, and you might think, well, no wonder you use that the least, because if there's one brand that became a bit controversial in the past years, it's Kat Von D. This is the Shade and Light Eye palette. I got this in the later plastic packaging and not the cardboard. Because I was definitely on the fence about this one for the longest time. I was in the States when this launched and everybody was going crazy for it. And at the time I decided not to pick it up just yet because, as with the Catrice, all matte palettes just don't really appeal to me. I like going in with a little bit of sculpting to do that with the mattes, but then I feel I need a shimmer on my lid just to bring it forward a little bit. In terms of as far as matte palettes go, this is probably still one of the best ones on the market. I'm not gonna lie. The quality of this is amazing. And I like how you get neutral, cool, warm. 3 different quads. You can do a lot with this. I keep this around because it makes for a great basic. And, you know, just to sort of start a look with this, it can be really nice. But since I have so many eyeshadow palettes, I never really need that sort of thing. The Balm Nude Beach, I could have featured every single The Balm palette that I have as being a palette that I don't use a lot, that I feel I should use more often. Let me take the brush out. But I think in terms of which one I would have to pick that I really, really have to reach for more, it's the Nude Beach. As far as warm tones go, this is actually one of the best ones for my complexion because some of these warm tones have like a pinky berry undertone, and that works really, really well on me. Like, I like pinks and berries. Those are the kind of warm tones I like. Modern Renaissance. So I feel that this can do a lot more for me personally than a lot of other warm tone palettes. It's just, my The Balm palettes are a little bit lost in my collection, I think. So that's why I should definitely use this a lot more. I got it. I did a couple of stunning looks with this. I definitely did. But then it just sort of ended up in a drawer. So this is definitely something that I need to use a lot more. And then last but not least, I had to feature an Urban Decay palette in this video. I could have featured quite a few because I do have to say that some of those like fun limited edition palettes that I have, I could also put on this list, but I think that, again, in terms of like one-trick ponies, this palette. When this was released, I definitely ummed and ahed whether I should get this. This is the only naked palette that I didn't purchase blindly, that I really set myself down and was like, okay, do you really need that? Because even though this is like cool and smoky, this is like the chocolate bar, too dark. These 4 shades pretty much look identical. Smolder doesn't read purple on me at all. It just shows up black. It's a black and purple, but it just shows that dark undertone, making it look identical to Black Market on my complexion, as well as Whiskey, which is too dark to be a transition on me. I need a shade that is in between these two. Yes, of course, I can like dip my brush into both of these and then make like a custom shade. That's how I have been using this palette. But really, with the amount of eyeshadow palettes that I have, do I really want to put in that much work? No, just stick in a shade that is that shade so I can use the palette. It's not that difficult. The 2 shades I reach for this palette. So Slanted and Dagger. Together, these make the perfect smoky eye. So those are my 10 least used eyeshadow palettes, and I know that I keep saying that some of these have merit. I'm very well aware that some of these I just need to declutter, but I won't be doing a declutter anytime soon. I definitely want to sort of wait around and like do another one next year so that I don't do them too often, even though I really enjoy watching declutters. I buy all of my makeup myself, so that's also why I find it a lot harder to get rid of things. And I do want to make content that we all enjoy and that I can still enjoy my collection as well, because I do want to get some more use out of these, definitely, even though I don't reach for them a whole lot. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. That would very much help me out. Stay tuned for more videos and subscribe if you'd like to, because that way you can always be notified from when I post new videos. So I hope to see you in my next video, and I hope you have a very, very great day. Bye.